Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is Laughing Games here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 cast, and it is not just a Starcraft 2 cast, it's a Starcraft 2v2 cast. And I'm very excited for this one as we've been spoiled with 2v2 lately, and that has allowed the formation of some very, very good teams. And so we're going to be having a mirror matchup in the sense that there's one Protoss and one Terran on each team. So on the first team, in the upper right of the map Undercurrent, it's going to be Spirit and MaxPax. I believe they won the previous cup. Going to be taking on Clem and Trigger, another incredible duo. I recently cast them playing against Cyril and Zhugliang, and yeah, I'm just excited to see how this one goes. We are spoilt for 2v2 lately, and we're going to see how well these guys can do against their opponents, as Clem and Trigger seem to have a lot of great teamwork. For example, Trigger consistently taking Clem's gas for him in these matches. MaxPax not doing that favor for Spirit. These guys being more independent, and Clem and Trigger seem really in sync. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this match, as these 2v2s, they heat up like gas. They heat up like a stovetop burner. Once they get hot, they are hot. And so, yeah, click that like button. If we can hit, let's go for 10 likes on this video. That would be amazing. Leave a comment down below saying if you want to see more 2v2, who you think the best 2v2 players are, the best race, or you can just write potatoes. It all helps with the YouTube algorithm and goes a long way. And then, yeah, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I'm going to try and put up daily videos on this new channel as to see if you guys are into just non-bot StarCraft 2. But as far as non-bot StarCraft 2 goes, these 2v2s are something I'm a very big fan of, as they're so unpredictable. We've already got Spirit and MaxPax looking to go for a bit of a cheeky cheese. Double Reaper opening from Spirit, and he's coming on in. Looks like he may get the Reaper of Clem. No, instead he elects just to target the SCV first. He may try and get the one building at Command Center, but not in time. Meanwhile, behind this, MaxPax is going for a Stargate, so Spirit just opening up with some light aggression. And I am a huge, huge fan of this for Spirit and MaxPax, because the one thing that I was really harping on was how players needed to be more aggressive against these two, because they are incredibly, incredibly greedy players. Looks like we've got a bit of a skirmish going on. 4 Reapers for Spirit are going to jump up on this ramp, toss down many, many grenades, allow him to kill the Reaper, or kill the Stalker, pardon me, of Trigger. That's going to leave Trigger very vulnerable as the 4 Reapers of Spirit start to do work, although a second Stalker does pop out for the Protoss player, so he's able to kill off one of those Reapers. I think he may have lost a couple of probes. MaxPax, though, bypassing Clem's bunker, is in his natural, putting on some more pressure on his opponent. Gonna grab at least a couple of SCVs before getting chased on out. I think that Adept and the Stalker will both perish, though. So, success is mixed for this push. 4 SCVs dead for Clem, only 1 probe and a Stalker for Trigger, but that has allowed MaxPax behind this to go into a very quick Mass Phoenix, which is a mighty, mighty powerful build in PvT, or in PT versus PT, I suppose. And that's actually giving him a nice lead compared to whatever Trigger's going up to. It looks like Trigger is going into Blink, but there's already going to be quite a few Phoenix out for MaxPax. He's got an Oracle moving into the natural base of Clem. Going to target down the Mule, although it was just about to expire, so maybe not the most efficient harassment. Tosses down a Revelation as well. And then MaxPax just massing more and more of these Phoenix. We've also got Cloaking Field on the way for Clem, so maybe going to be looking for some counter-harassment. Of course, Phoenix are very darn good against that, though. We see Spirit having his Reapers be chased by the Hellions of Clem, but then the Oracle of MaxPax comes on in to help his teammate out. That is really, really nicely done. So great teamwork by the red team. Also, a quick note, I am hoping to keep the team colors enabled during this cast. There is a bit of a bug. Sometimes they don't always work in the overlay. I'm not 100% sure what the cause is, but hopefully for all these replays we can have the team colors enabled. The players aren't in the same race, so it's fairly easy to tell them apart. I can also toggle them, so we can see MaxPax is the orange, Spirit's the red Terran, and then Clem-Trigger are purple and pink. We see pings going all over the place as well, which is interesting to see the insights of the players sort of tipping each other off, which is very important. Meanwhile, in comes MaxPax to the back of the base of Clem. These guys are also really on point when it comes to defending each other's bases. If we take a look, it shows a lot of faith in your teammate if you're willing to park units in their natural base to keep them safe. MaxPax, his Phoenix, are able to find the Banshee of Clem and kill it off. Did it have Cloak done? Yes, it did, but Clem didn't cloak it in time. Phoenix, they deal extra damage versus light, so that Banshee died before even Clem could react, which is very, very quick. Now, Trigger is about to have Blink, so he's going to have a bit of nice counter Phoenix play. Meanwhile, Spirit is going into a heavy, heavy Marine play style. Clem is kind of going for the same, though. We've even got some rocks being attacked to open the map up a little bit. And all in all, things aren't looking too bad for MaxPax and Spirit. They're doing a good job trying to match the play of Clem-Trigger, although Clem-Trigger are still being greedy, taking third bases already. Although Spirit is moving out to take the gold base, so is Clem. Trigger does lead MaxPax and probes by actually 10, which is very impressive. These guys are just macro machines, Clem and Trigger. In go the Phoenix of MaxPax, although they do get turned around. They maybe could have lifted up those Marines if he was super duper quick. Instead, he's just going to go in, lift up some SCVs. Those are darn easy pickings. It's like a couple Stalkers may get picked off as well. That's the thing about Mass Phoenix. They kill units off very quickly, but they're also very tanky. So at most, you'll usually lose 1 or 2 Phoenix if harassment goes poorly. Spirit has landed on that gold base, so he's mining away on that. Clem is getting that saturated himself, though. So we're going to have 3 bases to 3 for the Terrans. Trigger, though, keeping up his incredibly quick macro going into that 4th base. And that could make things a little bit complicated for the red team, as, I mean, maxed out Protoss going ground does eventually beat Mass Phoenix, but maybe not for now, as in goes MaxPax, lifting up a lot of the Phoenix of Trigger. Trigger has wisely gone into Archons, though, which are the hardest counter known to Phoenix, as Phoenix cannot lift them up. A lot of the Marines do get caught in a stasis ward by MaxPax, though, so Clem losing some of his firepower, losing some of his anti-air. Spirit is kind of on his own as far as the ground versus ground army goes, though. Well, in the sense that there isn't much of a ground presence for MaxPax to buffer. He can kind of help buffer by lifting up units, but it is a very nice push by Clem-Trigger. Look at that tank sieging the base of Spirit, and at some point they're going to have to clean this up. But it's not looking that easy. We've got a fleet beacon about to finish up for MaxPax. MaxPax is now going into Tempest very, very quickly, knowing he needs to transition because his Phoenix are not cutting it anymore. Against the Archons, like, they're just completely useless. We do have lots of tanks on the ground for Spirit doing work, although his mining is being disrupted, so there's no pressure on Clem-Trigger, so they're free to macro on their side of the map, even going up to 4th bases for both of them. Meanwhile, Spirit is kind of hard stuck on 3 bases. MaxPax is investing in static defense. We do have another very nice stasis ward for MaxPax, now going to kill off the Medivacs. Meanwhile, a Liberator is getting sieged up. That's going to be big for Spirit, as it's potentially going to kill off the tank that's sieging at his base so he can resume mining. It's a very uncomfortable spot for MaxPax and Spirit. They're making the defense look rather solid, and all of a sudden, Spirit charges on in. The Phoenix can pick off the Medivacs, they can lift the Stalkers, the Marines, anything but the Archons, so as long as Spirit deals with the Archons, they're good. Zealots are also very easy to lift off, and all in all, that's a really solid cleanup by MaxPax and Spirit, as the red team is able to counter push now into the base of Clem-Trigger. Medivacs getting picked off. It's a massive supply lead for MaxPax and Spirit. The Phoenix are getting blinked on top of, but now in comes Spirit with his tanks, with his Marines, and all the Phoenix to support him, and all of a sudden Clem could be about to lose his precious gold base, not just his 3rd, but also his building 4th gets interrupted as well. I think that gold is just going to die, and what a successful defense so far. And then counter swing by MaxPax and Spirit. Clem, he's got 1 tank getting sieged on up, but they're just so far down on supply. We do have a beautiful attacked from the rear by the Zealots of MaxPax, cleaning up the tanks, really softening up the Marines, but still Clem has lost not just 1, but 2 bases, gonna GG out. And so it looks like MaxPax and Spirit are gonna take game number 1, the dominant 2v2 team, able to continue with their streak. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that means we can just go ahead and load right on into the next match, which is something very exciting to do. And I'm gonna try and not kill my voice completely doing this cast. So if I'm sort of calming down a little bit here and there, that is why I am putting out lots of YouTube videos at the minute, which is very exciting between the 2 channels. But I do have to try and pace myself as far as commentary goes. I think my style of commentary is a little bit harsh on the voice. I don't know, maybe I just need to go to the voice gym or something like that. Anyway, I'm darn excited, and it is hard to contain the excitement when casting these amazing, amazing players. We've got Clem-Trigger in the bottom right side of Rohana, and then in the upper left, we have got MaxPax and Spirit. These 2 teams really are looking dominant. It's not surprising that even in 2v2, that the 2 best players, MaxPax and Clem, that always meet in the finals, are present once more. And now we'll see how things change on up. Is Trigger going to take the gas for Clem? Looks like he's not, because Rohana is a map which the bases are individual, which means you can potentially bully your opponents quite a bit. I really, really do like the way that MaxPax and Spirit opened up, though, with the light aggression, just to slow down Clem-Trigger a bit. But really, their win did come from MaxPax having so many Phoenix, I think, that, like, it's one of those things, if you overcommit, Phoenix are just going to clean up all your units, and you just sort of get bopped, and that's what happened. Trigger and Clem, maybe they should have pulled back. They were investing in a 4th base, while Spirit was only on 3 bases. They were being rather greedy, and then Trigger just didn't have enough units. And now, let's see. A scout goes down by MaxPax, moving around the base of Clem. Unfortunately, that probe is locked into the main, but there he goes, being a nuisance. Gonna try and force that SCV off the factory for a second. The probe will probably end up dying to the Reaper of Clem. We have got Reapers on the way for both Terrans, and actually double gate for, let's see, just double gate just for Trigger. So once again, MaxPax is trying to play his more risky style in StarCraft 2. He is the only Protoss player that can consistently get away with this build, which is the 1 gate expand for Protoss, because Protoss so often have to invest in that 2nd gate to stay alive. Now in 2v2, there's even more defensive potential, so we've got a very, very quick extra gateway or extra bunker going up for Spirit. Well, the first bunker, but there's no bunker for Clem-Trigger, as they've got the double gateway opening. Looks like they're opening up with multiple Reapers and Hellions. So this bunker is going to be absolutely pivotal for MaxPax and Spirit to make this defense happen. We're having pings go down all over the place. As far as the scouts are, there hasn't actually been a scout by Trigger and Clem, so they don't know what build MaxPax and Spirit are going for. That's a little bit risky, because if they had seen that this was coming, or if they had seen that MaxPax had gone for the 1 gate, they might have been more aggressive. We've now got Spirit with his Marines and a beautiful grenade bouncing the Adept of Trigger, holding this bunker still, going to be able to really help MaxPax shut down this Adept harassment. Beautifully done. And looks like Trigger actually cancels that Shade, but ends up trading the Adept out for just 1 extra Marine, so not really worth it. The bunker is worth its weight in gold for Spirit and MaxPax right now, making the 1 base defense even stronger for them. And so we've got Spirit and MaxPax being the greedier players, but unfortunately for Spirit, Hellions get into his main base. An Oracle for MaxPax does come on in, though, to try and help clean this up, as SCVs are running all over the place and skirmishing. 1 Reaper still alive, but all in all, a rather successful defense for the Protoss and Terran team coming to each other's aid. Units lost, 3 Reapers, 2 Hellions for 4 SCVs and a probe, 3 Adepts dead as well. I mean, MaxPax lost 2 Adepts as well, so really it is quite just a skirmish, but in the end, it is still a nice economic lead for MaxPax compared to Trigger. Clem, though, is an absolute macro beast, And since Spirit did lose those 4 SCVs, Clem actually has a nice little bit of a worker lead in this match. We've got both Terrans going into Stim, understandably, as you kind of want that mobility. I'm not sure whether Mech is the 2v2 style that you want to see that often. Revelation goes down, as MaxPax does have this Oracle. Trigger, once again, is going into Blink, though, but we saw how well MaxPax and Spirit did with the Stargate play by MaxPax. He's got to be careful not to lose this Oracle, though, but there is so much dead space he can just park it in, which is nice for him. We've got a third base going up for MaxPax, so trying to keep that nice economic opening going for him. We'll see if Clem and Trigger are able to punish this at all. I just want to make sure we got the music going. The music doesn't seem to be blaring in this cast, so I'm just gonna make sure we got that enabled real quick. We do have continuous music playing, but it doesn't seem to be that continuous. Anyway, I know StarCraft music is kind of intermittent, so let's see, as looks like Spirit is wanting to move out on the map with some of his bio. He's got Stim, he's got Combat Shield done already. Meanwhile, Trigger is moving out on the map. He does have Blink Stalkers, and he's going to have to blink them certainly, as Spirit just charges forward like a bull. There's a tank set up for Clem, though, so Spirit's attacking just right on into this. Gonna have to head on out of there. That was almost unconventionally aggressive by Spirit. There's a beautiful stasis for MaxPax, and it is going to catch most of their opponent's army. That's gonna allow Spirit to turn around to take this fight. There's still tanks at the back of this army for Clem, though, and I don't think Spirit and MaxPax realize how much stuff Clem and Trigger have, as they have quite an army. MaxPax can buy time with his Stalkers, but there's no third base going up for Trigger. MaxPax is being quite greedy compared to his opponents. It is a 2-base all-in by Clem and Trigger presently. From what I can see, it's just, yeah, just racks for Clem. No third command center. Spirit, he's got this bio that's building. We've also got MaxPax going for a Dark Shrine, which will be an out of this potential rush, although Clem can always scan for his teammate. But we'll see another scan goes down as Spirit and MaxPax are trying to hold the line, but they are all of a sudden on the defensive. Spirit's bio has been so overstimmed since he went for the initial stim forward, and now they're in quite a bit of trouble. That bunker is no longer present. I believe it must have been salvaged then by Spirit. That's a decision he's really regretting. Clem is getting tank sieged on up. MaxPax has to blink away. Spirit wants to pull the SCVs, but he's got absolutely nothing to support them with. And I think that was just a bit of an overcommitment on the map. Overcommitment to the economy, which is really, really costing MaxPax and Spirit. DTs are warping in for MaxPax to try and get some counter damage done. They could also be used defensively. Spirit having to run his SCVs from his natural, so just locked in on one base. But the tanks of Clem are really supporting this push by Trigger. MaxPax has to recall his probes to another base. Are the DTs getting work done? They certainly should be able to. They seem to have sussed this out, though, as there is a turret building in the mineral line from Clem for Trigger. Put a little note on it as MaxPax hits the Protoss player, but he knows he's not going to be able to deal with this main army still, and he's actually just going to type on out. GG gets called. Trigger and Clem are able to take game number 2 and tie up the series. And so I'll go ahead and load us on in to the next match. I'm not sure if I mentioned that this is going to be a full-on best of 5, but now you know anyway, as yeah, I like to do the full matches in these. I don't like to do just one match. I want to cast them all. When players play a series, even if they're very long videos, it's something that I enjoy to watch. And so, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to help out, just click that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for daily StarCraft 2 casts. Meanwhile, Spirit is now going to be throwing up a supply depot on the front, as he can actually help Trigger or MaxPax wall on this map, as the players are once again together on Emerald City. I think it is interesting to have 2v2 maps in which we get, say, the split bases versus having everyone lumped up together, as it creates unique opportunities to be more aggressive, that kind of thing. All in all, though, Spirit definitely in that previous match may have cost them the game by being how aggressive he was, maybe getting a little bit excited. I can't blame him, but You really need your teammate fully on board with a push like that, but MaxPax was investing in a third base, a dark shrine, that kind of thing. And so they would have been better just testing the waters. They did not see that there was no third base really that quickly. And all in all, a very, very successful push by Clem-Trigger. MaxPax scouting out Trigger and Clem. Once again, not scouting, playing it incredibly greedy in that sense. Like, you basically get a 2-for-1 scout, yet they're electing not to do that. They're just macroing up, making their units. Spirit is going for his own CC. He's actually just making Marines, so wanting to get that factory up as quick as possible, I suppose, by skipping that Reaper. But all in all, it's not going to be too significant, as Emerald City seems to be leaning towards a macro map, as there is expansions going up for every single player. And let's see, probe moving on out across the map for MaxPax. It successfully got out of the base. Spirit has got his one Marine hiding in the bush, interestingly enough. That's a bit risky. I don't know if one Marine in a bush can take down a Reaper, but who knows, maybe it can. We've got MaxPax once again going for the Stargate. Trigger not committing to a tech yet, which makes me think it's probably going to be a Twilight Council once more, as that push definitely did work out for them. All of Trigger's Stalkers adding a lot of firepower and muscle, and that's why scouting is so important, to see whether what direction your opponents are going for. If MaxPax and Spirit had scouted a little bit more that last game, they might have gone right. These guys are on 2 bases. There's no real reason for us to be pushing out like that. And yeah, let's see. Adept for MaxPax shading around, as Trigger goes for a Stalker. MaxPax goes for the Adept so he can go onto the Stargate. That itself may be a bit of a scouting tell. But look at this. Where's the tech for Trigger? There is still no Twilight Council started. Which makes me think he's probably going to be going for a quick third base, perhaps? There's the Twilight firing up now. Just 2-gate Twilight Council. A little bit delayed. We have 2 Adepts for MaxPax chasing down Hellions of Clem. Clem, who is seemingly going for a bit of a 1-1-1 opening for now. Spirit runs in a Hellion, sees what his opponents have at the door, but no crazy amounts of information there. That's just gonna prompt MaxPax to throw down a stasis ward at the front lines. Or energy overcharge, pardon me, on this Oracle is allowing him to just throw down lots and lots of stasis. We do have the 2 Adepts of MaxPax get caught by Hellions, and so that's actually a nice pickoff for Trigger and Clem. Trigger does end up going for that third base. Looks like Spirit sent out an SCV, going to be walling. No third in sight for the red team just yet. We've gotten a hallucinated Phoenix running into MaxPax's real Phoenix, confirming double Stargate, which is very, very important. Hellions for Clem are going to run on in. He sees the stasis ward, though, and immediately turns around. We're getting pings going down all over the place as MaxPax scouts. And Trigger is just moving out to secure his third base. Oracle is trying to get a bit of harassment done. I think it maybe got a SCV, 1 or 2 SCVs at most, and then it perished. So that's a really nice pickoff for Trigger and Clem. MaxPax doesn't want to invest in another one of those. He wants to be making nothing but Phoenix, and that's what he's aiming for, although gets a little bit supply blocked, which isn't ideal. Maybe that Oracle dying threw him off a bit. Spirit behind this, going into tanks, Marines. Clem himself is actually just going into mass Vikings, getting a third command center. So the blue Terran is actually almost looking like he's meching. Maybe not meching, but gearing up for a bit of a push / playing with all these Vikings to be anti-Phoenix, which is an interesting layer in this 2v2. If you have a Protoss making nothing but Phoenix, you could have a Terran make nothing but Vikings to counter that. Vikings and tanks is a very strong combo. It counters the bio. It'll also counter the Phoenix. So I really, really like that by Clem. We'll see if he gets up an armory. And he does go for a second factory. So foregoing the mobility, just to have a very strong composition. Third base is flying over for the Terran. Spirit doesn't have his own third base. Oh, there it is. Pardon me. Floating over. So good to see both teams expanding at a similar rate. And this could be quite problematic for Spirit and MaxPax. If this game goes on another 5 minutes or so, you're going to have a meching Terran against a bio-playing Terran. And that is very good for defense in 2v2. Looks like Clem trying to run in with his Hellions. Gonna successfully keep them alive, though. Or at least one of them, as the other two get caught in a stasis ward. And once that stasis ward ends, they shall be in for a world of hurt. Phoenix find the other Hellion as MaxPax moves out on the map with his mass Phoenix. It's going to be hard for Clem to keep pace with Vikings. It's presently 8 Vikings, though, to 11 Phoenix, which isn't bad at all for the Terran as Vikings. They have that super long range. So Clem to MaxPax to counter that may want Anion Pulse Crystals. We also have got Trigger investing in cannons to help defend against Phoenix harassment. And he's getting up Templar Archives. Robo Bay, Archons could definitely be the play once again to counter the Phoenix. At some point, MaxPax will probably go into Tempest or Carriers. He does have that +1 attack on the way as well for the Phoenix. There's the Fleet Beacon, as Phoenix range will be a necessity to counter the Vikings, to get more value out of those Phoenix in the long run. Clem is just making mass Vikings here. It's so cool. When's the last time you saw a Terran build 11 Vikings, 4 tanks, and just sit? Double armory on the way. Phoenix still flying around. Stasis Ward gets abandoned as Clem knows his Vikings are strong enough in order to bully away the Phoenix of MaxPax. We'll have to wait and see how a fight happens. And in theory, a fight should happen sometime soon, as Spirit isn't going to want to just sit forever. Because he is the Bio Terran, he's going to feel pressure to try and make something happen. And make something happen they very well could. If Clem is out of position with his tanks, then it could just be Spirit's Bio against what Trigger has on the ground with the Phoenix to support. So who knows whether the Red Terran is going to be able to make something happen here. Pressure is definitely going to be something that he needs to do, and he'll be facing pressure to make something happen. As the Bio gets worse as time goes on, we've got Spirit going for a Fusion Core, making Marines. Meanwhile, MaxPax fires up triple Tempest at a time, so a very mature decision to just sit. A 4th is going up for MaxPax. We'll see if Spirit builds his 4th soon. He's already got it building on location. Trigger's already up to 4 bases and mining, though. And Clem is building his own 4th, so a very respectful macro game. Look at the supply for this match right now. Like, both these teams, everyone is over 150 supply, which is nuts. We could have some really big battles coming up here. We have a random probe out on the map, tossing down a pylon for Trigger. And let's see here. 2-2 on the way for Spirit. Meanwhile, Clem building Thors. That is a great way to counter the Phoenix of MaxPax, as looks like the Protoss army is moving on out. The Phoenix could potentially get some pickoffs, though, but there's all these Archons present. Massive amounts of tanks are present for Spirit, though, to help him lock down this position. But this game is becoming a stalemate and fast. We've now got Carriers building for MaxPax, the ultimate team game unit. But it might not be that ultimate when your opponent is building mass Vikings, building Archons, getting out Thors like Clem is doing, as he does have those out. Supplies, Spirit is maxed, but that's maxed out on Bio. Spirit has elected to pivot to go into Vikings and Liberators, which is definitely a solid way to transition from Bio when you know you need that late game composition. We've also got a Mothership flying around. It's not the injured unit, though. It's a Tempest that was injured. And it's just max late game. I really love how Trigger is going into Psystorm. I think Psystorm is a beautiful decision when they're going to be up against mass Vikings, mass Phoenix. Storm is almost never bad unless there's Ghost present. Meanwhile, Tempest flying around. Clem is trying to be a nuisance with his Vikings to find some angle of attack. MaxPax at some point will have to dump his Phoenix, but look at this. In goes Trigger looking to push forward. He does have Psystorm done, so Spirit has to be so careful with his Marines, and I think that's what Trigger's probably looking for. Big Psystorms, as Spirit wasn't paying attention and microing his Bio. The Planetary Fortress not getting delayed, though. Meanwhile, inside the main base of Clem, we've got a huge drop by the Red Terran player, finding some use for his Bio. I almost want to rewind and witness that. but it really is quite an effective drop. It killed off the main CC of Clem. We'll see if he can get any more structures, maybe some more probes. The Marines are very overstimmed as the Vikings did kill off the Medivacs, but man, oh man, that is why why Spirit was maybe a bit distracted. He was going for that big drop that's preventing Clem from assisting Trigger with the push. The Tempest are getting some good work done. We do have Phoenix flying all over the place now for MaxPax, and he's got so many Phoenix, he can just wipe out a mineral line in a second, potentially recall these if he wants. He can lift up all the Stalkers, and that's exactly what he's doing. So great value from these Phoenix for MaxPax, which he knows he wants to trade some of these out so he can make more carriers, that kind of thing. Spirit also is going into more and more Vikings, knowing they need to win the air battle, the tanks on the ground, and then pretty much just Vikings in the sky. And so Trigger playing this ground composition may be turning into the weak link, as eventually Stalkers and charge lots are going to fall off against this massive air composition. I mean, look at this. Phoenix and Vikings against what Clem has. It's going to be a tough push for the blue team to make something happen. Maybe they can, though, with all the Thors present. But look at this. Tanks on the ground, preventing Trigger from blinking under the Tempest. Incredible value. Once again, Spirit comes on in with another drop into the main base of Clem. He rebuilt that main, but that may be about to die. Vikings are coming on in, but the Marines could stim under them. They're going to fight the Zealots, but then actually target down... I mean, Spirit is like a kid in a candy shop. He's like, do I kill the Vikings? Do I kill the CC? Do I kill the Zealots? But all in all, it does get cleaned up successfully. Still, though, this is allowing the red team to expand easily. I mean, both teams really are expanding all over the place. There's not that many free bases left right now. Psystorm hitting the Protoss air fleet, which is not something you see too often. We've got Viking against Viking. MaxPax definitely has an upgrade, or pardon me, Clem definitely has an upgrade lead on that. The Mothership gets targeted down by the Vikings of Clem. And the Psystorm is doing lots of work for Trigger, definitely the best thing he's bringing to the table. Spirit has all his Marines on the ground, but they can't walk forward into the tanks of Clem. This is definitely an epic 2v2 match we've got going on right now. The killer air fleet, Spirit losing so many Vikings in this trade, and you don't want to lose your massive fleet right now. Upgrades are definitely important. It's tough to break that down on the fly, but it does seem that, I mean, Trigger's got good ground upgrades, Spirit's got okay ground upgrades, but, I mean, Clem and MaxPax are the players that have really committed to the air. We do have Trigger pushing on in, trying to clean out this base, trading away a lot of his army as Clem is out of position to help him. Spirit has to reposition to help out, though. Spirit has surprisingly successfully been able to secure up this base, so we're seeing Trigger try and take it out with DTs. There's no turret or anything there. Spirit repositioning maybe some of his units, sussing this out. There's a poke on the front lines right now. Meanwhile, the APM is just off the charts right now. As look at that. That's a lot of APM in a game of Starcraft 2. SCVs are trying to repair and save this planetary, but the beautiful run by from Trigger is able to shut this location down. That's a big loss for Spirit, and that's why you always want turrets and Liberators to defend your base. Looks like Trigger and Clem are now moving towards the upper right side of the map. Phoenix are just going to suicide in, lift up lots of these Stalkers, allow these units to be picked off, and Clem is a little bit out of position. All the tanks of Spirit are sieged up on the high ground. That's going to prevent Clem from coming in directly to save this. We've now got Viking against Viking as the air battle commences. So many tanks are on the ground sieged up. Spirit has quite a few that are far forward, though, and are going to get picked off. The trades are huge on both sides of the map. So far, Trigger and Spirit are the biggest losers. I think the team resources loss is probably fairly even. Still, though, the killer air army of MaxPax is reigning supreme. He's now added in his own High Templar, and carriers really are king in these team games. Spirit lost all his Vikings. He lost another base to the counterattack of Trigger. The DTs are wreaking havoc, but can the blue team deal with all these carriers? They're going to have to pull together to take a fight, I think. How many Vikings is there? 16 Vikings is no small amount. 23 Stalkers for Trigger. If they can catch the army of MaxPax in a bad position, that would be huge. But instead, look at this. Great positioning by MaxPax using the dead space. That's going to prevent the Stalkers from getting in. As I say that, though, maybe I spoke a little too soon. There is enough room for those Stalkers to come on in. The Mothership moves forward for MaxPax to help out. He's on 200 supply, but his teammates' base and supply has been ravaged. Spirit down to 22 SCVs. Not a lot of extra bases as MaxPax has 3 extra bases. Spirit has what? he only has 4 bases technically, but Trigger has done a great job taking Spirit out of this game. The Terran player has got tanks, a few Vikings, but he's really been playing it a little bit fast and loose. He needs to defend against this harassment. But all in all, look at this. Trigger and Clem, they may see a big opportunity. Spirit does siege up a few tanks to help out. Where's the High Templar? Are they there to drop Psystorms for MaxPax? Looks like Trigger blinks underneath, able to pick off 1 or 2 of the High Templar. That opens up the air fleet of MaxPax in order to be taken out. Looks like a scan goes down for Spirit, trying to clean up the run-bys, but his economy is still pitiful. Look at this. He got set up in the late game, but he just got completely knocked out of it. And meanwhile, Trigger and Clem are still on incredible economies. So, yeah, Spirit really is the weak link in this game. MaxPax is the only thing holding him in this battle right now. We've got Clem moving forward with all his Vikings. 1 volley from the Vikings pretty much guarantees a kill on an air unit, but look at that. Spirit moving forward with his measly 4 Vikings. And a big attack in the upper right by Trigger. I mean, looks like MaxPax is going to try and shut this down, but as time goes on, the supply difference, or the lagging supply from Spirit, is going to potentially cost them, as the trades will be better and better for Trigger and Clem as they have more units to play with. So we are seeing Spirit move forward. He realizes, all right, I'm pretty much just useful in a bit of a push with these tanks on the ground. He's being punished hard by a move out by Trigger. Spirit has only got 23 SCVs. Mules are keeping him in this game, but he's going to lose most of his CCs out on the map. It really is almost an all or nothing push. Great time warp slows some of those Vikings down, as still MaxPax's fleet is able to move on in. Trigger, he's got so many Stalkers though. Look at this, 39 Stalkers. Those tanks are going to need to be sieged for Spirit if he's going to handle this. The Stalkers are blinking underneath the fleet of MaxPax, and I think that's going to be enough, as it is an absolute just dive by the blue team to kill everything MaxPax has. Spirit's army is long gone. Psystorm's getting dropped all over the place, but the Vikings of Clem remain, and it looks like Trigger and Clem are able to play it out and take the lead in the series 2-1. Beautifully done. Hey, that rhymes. I'll go ahead and load us into the next match now. Okay. Maybe not the team I'd have bet on based on how that first game went to take the lead and potentially, well, be set up to win this series, but in the bottom right, it's Clem and Trigger doing incredibly well on Reclamation. Meanwhile, in the upper left, Spirit and MaxPax once again. Spirit really, I think, suffered from his composition in that match, maybe a little unsure of what to do, because like he wanted to counter Clem's Vikings, but then Trigger found incredible opportunities with his ground army. Like, Spirit just got dismantled by Trigger. That allowed, well, that really forced the hand of MaxPax and Spirit. And yeah, it was really well done. Got pings going down all over the place as MaxPax and Spirit are scanning. I guess picking out their expansions ahead of time, perhaps. And this is Reclamation, so the bases are split up, so you can potentially get some nice team harassment done if you gang up on someone. And let's see, a probe for MaxPax. Moving on in. Saying, hey, yeah, that's a 2-gate opening. Looks like MaxPax is aiming to go for the 1-gate expand once again. He's so darn good at this, he rarely gets killed and punished doing it. Looks like we have a single gas for Spirit, double gas for Clem. So Trigger and Clem are being the more, well, the more aggressive players probably in this match. Double gate, double gas, going up against single gas. expansion for both players. We saw how good that bunker was for Spirit at the start of game number 2, though. As long as he doesn't salvage it and they don't get overly aggressive, that could definitely help them out. Looks like that SCV is going to be in trouble right away, though, so a very nice pickup by Clem. Going to really delay that bunker. That could maybe lead to a bit of an Adept Reaper push later on in the match. Spirit needs to get an SCV on that right away, although it's a little bit delayed. And so this is looking like quite a nice start for Trigger and Clem. 2 Adepts, 2 Reapers moving on in. What's there to defend? 1 Adept for MaxPax that's on its own. This is really, really bad news for the red team, as the blue team is coming in looking to get some real big damage done. There's the Cyclone on the way for Spirit. His command center does finish up so he can save the SCVs, but that bunker's not going to happen. MaxPax is fighting on a battery that he produced, which is absolutely huge. Meanwhile, Spirit comes down with his few Marines, but after all, it is just a few Marines. So far, the losses haven't been that big for the red team, though, as MaxPax continues to micro his units, making use of that battery. The battery play of MaxPax is really keeping them in this game. Meanwhile, Clem is microing his Reaper, trying to kill some of the SCVs of Spirit. Cyclone's coming on in. That should shut that down, though. Oracle is now done for MaxPax, though, which is going to really help them shut down this base. Trigger is moving in with his Adepts, maybe not microing them as soon as he can. And all in all, this looks like a fairly successful defense for the red team. What started with a very, very nice delay on the bunker that is still not done. That was huge. Look at that. 4 Adepts, 2 Reapers, and a Hellion dead for just 3 SCVs and 3 Marines. MaxPax didn't lose a single unit. That battery healing that Adept and just barely keeping it alive at 4 HP was ginormous. That was a huge, huge win. We also have a Stasis Ward now going down by MaxPax in the main base of Trigger. He had nothing to counter that, so he just had to pull his probes. That definitely cost him some mining time. As if we pull that up, like, that is a big, big difference for a second there. And so, yeah, Clem and Trigger are just going to have to try and macro out of this one after that unsuccessful opening. So I do like that Clem is going for a quick 3rd command center behind this. Spirit has got his own 3rd CC building, but it's not the biggest difference in the world, actually. So almost keeping pace with the Red Terran. We do have the Oracles for MaxPax coming on in. Once again, they target down a single probe, drop a Revelation, and head on out of town. Double Refinery building for Clem as he gets his macro going. We'll see if the Blue Terran is going to go mech. Looks like Spirit is committed to bio once more. And then there is a 3rd Nexus going up for Trigger, whereas MaxPax has got his. So a slight lead for the red team, but nothing to be concerned about. Although we do have a Dark Shrine on the way for MaxPax, so that could be something to be concerned about. The 3rd base getting secured up by Clem and Trigger. Oracles are flying around too. We'll see if MaxPax can get anything done with these 2 Oracles. The first Oracle was very pivotal in the defense. We also have a 3rd base of Clem being identified, and with the double gas being taken, that's actually quite a big scout by MaxPax, because it reveals that Clem is going to be playing mech. And that's a much slower style. We're going to see MaxPax actually move on in right now, and he's actually looking to push into Trigger a little bit with all his Stalkers. There is a battery present, though, for the Blue Protoss. Blink is done on both sides, though. We'll see if Spirit potentially groups up with his teammate to make this push happen, as Clem is going to be less helpful with having to split out to defend that 3rd base. Playing mech, just having less units overall. We have MaxPax pushing in, dodging siege tank shots as well as he can, but the tank of Clem is definitely going to be helpful. We've got a Stasis going down. Was that a dead Oracle? No, just a dead Stalker. As we get a 4th for MaxPax. Spirit mining on his 3rd. Clem mining on his 3rd, though. And the game is going to slow down with tanks being produced by Clem once more. He's getting double armory on the way. There is DTs. Well, there is a Dark Shrine. Looks like it's just going to be DT Blink for MaxPax. He never actually made any DTs maybe realizing that there was cannons at all the bases, that kind of thing. Trigger is looking to get set up to potentially catch some of his opponent's units. That's nice army movement. And I think Spirit should be investing in a 4th base relatively soon. Instead, the red team is going to be moving out for an attack. It's quite a lot of supply for Spirit. These rocks, once broken down, will be a nice attack path, and they could potentially get on the high ground of the base of Trigger. And that is actually going to be a really nice move out. There's no real heads up on this for the blue team. There is a hallucinated Phoenix now moving out. Spirit's moving forward. He's got all his tanks in Medivacs. As soon as he unloads those, they can siege right on up. And if this position doesn't get dislodged quickly, it could be a big, big problem for Clem and Trigger as Spirit and MaxPax push on in. A big stim on the bio from Spirit, just pushing on in as the army of Clem is split up. Trigger is warping in Zealots to try and buffer for this. It is a very deep dive by the red team. Their army is covered in that anti-armor missile, but still the 3rd base of Trigger goes down, and the army is just absolutely massive for MaxPax and Spirit. Clem's mech is doing what it can. He's got the tanks that can zone out his opponents. He's really got to help out Trigger here, though, as the 3rd base of Trigger is under pressure. He's got 2 Archons about to finish up. That could definitely help out. No battery, though. Clem is resetting up some tanks, shuffling them forward, but Trigger is going to lose that Nexus, and it looks like the blue team is in a world of trouble as Trigger is knocked down to being a 2-base Protoss 9 minutes into the game. That is no good at all. Clem and Trigger, they can maybe play it out if they just take their sweet time macroing, as Clem with a strong mech army maybe has a chance. Trigger attempting to retake that 3rd base. Meanwhile, Clem is moving out to secure up the 4th base. Like, he's like, hey, just because my teammate's dead doesn't mean I need to stop expanding, which is very understandable if they are going to play this game out. Trigger's attempts to retake his 3rd base are not successful, though. Clem can defend his 4th with tanks, but he definitely does need to try and help his teammate. We do have a very deep tank line for Clem, though, holding the line. Looks like a DT Warpin is going to hit the main base of Trigger, so Trigger just being dogpiled on. Gonna need a scan from his teammate Clem. Is there a scan? Spirit also unloading units inside the main base. It looks like Trigger is just trying to hold on against all these units, but MaxPax and Spirit are finding so many opportunities. Vikings for Clem are helping out pick off the air units. There's a Liberator getting sieged on up, gonna help with the tanks. Trigger is in such a world of trouble, though, down to 66 supply. Clem has got this solid tank line defending his 4th base. There's no way MaxPax can break that, so if they can clean this up, maybe they can survive longer in this game, but still Trigger is just on a measly 2 bases. Clem is going to have to pull off a heck of a 2v1, which might not be the most doable with only mech units. They're not fast, they're not mobile, and we're really seeing that now as MaxPax, working hard to find an angle, has done so to hit the 3rd base of Clem, potentially going to force that off. We do still have units inside the main base of Trigger. Spirit can potentially just elevate her more in, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Trigger's probably going to need his teammates' help. It looks like the tanks of Clem cannot get through that door, as who'd have thought tanks can't fit through Protoss doors, so Trigger is on his own to try and defend this. We've got Zealots moving in through the front lines, killing off tanks of Clem. The blue Terran has been maintaining his supply, been defending his bases, but now we're seeing DTs in the main base of Clem as MaxPax is just everywhere. Spirit helping out too with a drop inside the main base. Clem's gonna tap out, and then Trigger is definitely out of it as well. So the series gets tied up 2-2, which is exactly what you want in an epic 2v2 best of 5. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to load into the next and final map of this series. Wow, wow, wow is all I can say. I don't think I've ever seen 2v2 in StarCraft 2's history played this well. We're going to see which team takes it. I have no idea. It's been back and forth. I think you can really break this down a little bit, just in the sense that, like, the team that's maybe macroed a little bit harder comes out ahead, as that's what happened in the previous game. MaxPax and Spirit, they defended against the early aggression. Somehow, by MaxPax's incredible battery usage and defense. But, yeah, we are on Crimson Research Lab. So there is potential for another long late game. We'll see if Clem mechs or if he bios. MaxPax is scouting out once again, whereas Clem and Trigger are not bothered by it. They just have their plan. I think I'd maybe like to see Trigger go for Phoenix this game. Although he has been playing that ground style quite well. Let's see, Scouting Probe does move out for Trigger. So these players are actually both going to scout each other, which is good to see, I think. We've got double gates from Trigger. MaxPax so rarely does the double gate, going for that Nexus once more. And if Spirit builds a bunker again, I think they'll be completely fine against this. So I'm a big fan. Spirit's going to want to build his own command center. In comes the probe of Trigger. Going to be a nuisance. Is another probe on its way to help deal with that. It's a little bit late. He maybe could have anticipated that a bit more. He may even need to send down a second SCV because this guy's just going to be completely out of it. Meanwhile, we have MaxPax pinging. Hey, we're up against double gates. That's important information. Once again, Trigger and Clem are going to open up the same way. It seems multiple Reapers, multiple Adepts. Spirit makes the wall rock solid, so those Adepts won't be able to shade up to the main base. And there should be a bunker building for Spirit sooner rather than later. Where is it? Where are you going to put it? There it is. That's the spot. Splitting the bases, splitting the ramp. Out goes the first Reaper of Clem. It could potentially delay this bunker. However, 2 Marines are there for Spirit this time to defend it. And so Clem and Trigger are just doing their things. We do have a Stargate for Trigger, so potential for Mass Phoenix against Mass Phoenix. And yeah, I think the play is just to be greedy behind this, to try and out-macro your opponent, which I think Trigger and Clem need to do, because I don't think they're going to get much damage done here. The Reapers for Clem are coming in. They're going to skirmish with the Adept and MaxPax, although another battery is building. It's not done yet, though, so MaxPax may lose his Adept. That would be a big loss. He does actually lose it. Spirit pops his Marines out of the bunker to help out. Meanwhile, probes are getting pulled, and then the ramp doesn't get lifted in time, so Spirit chokes a little bit, lets the Adept inside the main base of MaxPax. MaxPax has to pull probes to fight that. It's going to cost him 1 probe, maybe 2? Yes, 2 probes in all, so Spirit's actions having consequences, not lifting that depot. And that does cost MaxPax 5 probes in total, so I said they might not get that much done, but the micro of Clem and Trigger really has been phenomenal. Another 2, going to be 3 dead SCVs. If they can get the Reapers, that will sort of ease the pain a little bit, and they do. But still, that is quite a nice opening from the blue team. We do have Phoenix building for Trigger behind this. He's got a huge lead on the Phoenix, and I absolutely love this decision. MaxPax has to recall his Oracle immediately upon seeing that he's up against Mass Phoenix. He knows he's behind in the Phoenix count, and seeing as how he took a hit to his economy, they're going to be in trouble as MaxPax, he's got to invest in a battery because he'll lose a Phoenix versus Phoenix match. It's 1v4 right now. I don't know one Phoenix that can beat up another 4 in a fight. So it's going to be very difficult for MaxPax and Spirit from this position. I absolutely love the decision of Trigger to go right into Phoenix, not just into an Oracle, because MaxPax has been getting away with that scot-free throughout this series. And now we're seeing, I mean, look at that. The Phoenix already enjoying their presence. Clem even sent a Viking out on the map. We do have the Oracle from MaxPax getting a nice stasis ward off, denying lots of mining time from Clem. So that is a good move. So it at least got some harassment done. Although its life will probably end as, yeah, recall is definitely on cooldown. So that is going to be a dead Oracle. It can drop down a few revelations, and it's not even going to make it to the main base of Clem. And there's so many Phoenix out for Trigger already. Look at this. It's 7 Phoenix to 4. MaxPax and Spirit are going to have to work together better than ever. in order to defend this, but I really am concerned because look at this. There's been 2 gases claimed for Trigger way longer than MaxPax. He's just getting up his 3rd gas. That is a big hit to his production. Looks like the Red Terran is going into a fleet beacon. A scan goes down and reveals that, though. That is a important scout for Trigger and Clem, as now Trigger can plan accordingly. I honestly don't know. Maybe just build his own fleet beacon as soon as he can, so then MaxPax won't have the luxury of the Phoenix range. Looks like Spirit wanted to expand, but he's going to be forced off that, as the Vikings are also present for Trigger. Spirit, he's just making Marines in order to help try and defend this, and boy oh boy does he have a lot of Marines. In fact, Spirit Stim Marines could be huge here, as the Vikings for Clem are really out there. And let's see. Oh, there is a tank set up for Clem. Beautiful positioning, as the blue team just wants to push and end this game as soon as possible. So that stim is really going to have been painful for Spirit, as all his Marines are so softened up. They don't have combat shield. They're down to they're down to 35 HP. And so one more stim, they will be in a world of trouble. A scan got dropped by Spirit in order to see what his opponents had. Yeah, I don't know what they need to do in order to make this happen, because look at this, it's 12 Phoenix against 15. MaxPax will have anion pulse crystals, which is going to be huge, but he's not just up against the Phoenix of Trigger, he's up against the Vikings of Clem as well. The synergy between Trigger and Clem is just huge. As always, this Medivac is working overtime, but it's an easy pick-off for Clem. You got to be more careful with your Medivacs than that Spirit in a 2v2. Phoenix for Trigger are now feeling confident. Spirit knows he needs to pull SCVs to try and break this position. Range on the Phoenix of Trigger of MaxPax is going to be big. The Marines are stimming forward, picking off the tanks. Even a lift going down, allowing the Marines of Spirit to save the day. As, let's see, it's now Phoenix versus Phoenix. What's the current count? It's 11-12. So MaxPax actually got some nice pickoffs on those of Trigger. Trigger only has his own anion pulse crystals building now. MaxPax also got up at 3rd base during all that chaos, so he has kept pace with his opponents in the economy. In the base count, he is down 10 workers. Spirit's also down workers to Clem, but I don't know if the red team could have dug themselves out of that situation any better. The range on the Phoenix for MaxPax really helped out, because it prevented Trigger from taking that fight. Because if Trigger went forward, MaxPax would have gone out, then Trigger would have been shot at by all of Spirit's Marines. So incredible synergy there between MaxPax and Spirit when their lives were on the line in this tournament. A best of 5, neck and neck. And I believe this is actually the final, since it is a best of 5. So, yeah, that is just so close. We have now got Trigger investing in a mothership, which can definitely help him out. He's also getting +1. Looks like MaxPax also invests in a mothership. The Phoenix count, it's 19-17. Somehow MaxPax is so darn good at building Phoenix. He understands the matchup Phoenix versus Phoenix perfectly. Trigger, though, is investing in carriers, and we'll see if that works out for him or if it'll bite him, because you're very vulnerable to your opponent's mass Phoenix when you're investing in your own. Looks like MaxPax and Spirit have seen Trigger's expansion, as a pylon is building right next to it. These rocks, protected by a bubble shield, are going to be the wall. And look at this, Spirit and MaxPax, they're going to load everything up into the Medivacs. Clem, who's been meching, is going to get his 3rd base absolutely dropped on, and I'm not sure if there's going to be enough or ground to ground or air to ground to deal with all the Marines of Spirit. The Marines, they can guard the Phoenix of MaxPax. Both Phoenix players have anion pulse crystals. MaxPax has a lead on the Phoenix, though, as Trigger was investing in all those carriers. It's 2-2. Clem just took a big blow. Looks like Spirit wants to get the units he can out of there, which is very understandable, as now I think the Phoenix can probably just lift up all these Marines if Trigger micros it right. But that was a nice move by MaxPax and Spirit. They were able to kill that command center, and that was a big blow to the economy of Clem. He's down to 57 SCVs to the 72 of Spirit. Spirit doesn't need to invest in any static defense, as his teammate is the one with the Mass Phoenix. We see triple Stargates being built for MaxPax, so he's going up to 6 Stargates to keep his Mass Phoenix building. And Mass Phoenix can beat carriers, and look at this, the Marines of Spirit, the Phoenix of MaxPax killing off the mothership of Trigger. That is a huge blow to the blue team, as Trigger needed that mothership to match the mothership of MaxPax. We have a beautiful time warp going down for MaxPax. He does lose his own mothership, though, so that's a nice counter blow. Clem's Vikings are really helping to dissuade the Phoenix. We've got mass cannons powered by one pylon, though. The Artosis pylon allows the 4th base of Trigger to be gutted by the stims of Spirit's Marines. And the Marines of Spirit, they've really just been uncontested most of this game. The tanks are immobile. The Phoenix haven't done it. Trigger has been losing the high capital ships he's been investing in. He's lost 1 carrier, lost the mothership. They take so darn long to build. He has successfully made it up to 5 carriers, though. And MaxPax continues to invest in the Phoenix. So it's going to be Mass Phoenix with Marines still against carriers and tanks. That can be a situation that the blue team can win if they hit that critical mass. Although if MaxPax comes in with his Phoenix, he can potentially kill off a carrier. He's skirmishing with the interceptors right now. He's going to find the Vikings of Clem and just keep trading out, because that's what you got to do. We're having MaxPax now invest in Tempest to try and counter the air units of Clem and Trigger. And we are having MaxPax move on in with his Phoenix, look for some damage. He's just going to be able to lift up a ton of SCVs, and Clem can't deal with this with just his Vikings. He needs Trigger to help him out, but now Trigger is a slow carrier building guy, and that means that MaxPax is having so much success with his Phoenix. He just killed tons and tons of the SCVs. We've now got Spirit pushing on in, stimming underneath the carriers of Trigger. Trigger doesn't have anything on the ground to support them. There is 2 tanks at the back that do help out massively, but still the 4th base is being gutted. Phoenix are flying on in now for MaxPax, cleaning out the main base of Clem. The Phoenix have just had so much value for MaxPax, and Trigger and Clem are in a very rough spot. It's 174 supply, 170 supply against 100 and 130. That is disastrous for the blue team. They're going to need to pull a rabbit out of a hat. I think Trigger just needs to keep building carriers. Clem maybe needs to get his tanks up, or I don't know, more Vikings. It really is a tough position. Trigger's re-securing this position with Clem's tanks, which are an absolute must, because otherwise Spirit's bio will just punish him. But look at this, Spirit, he's loading up into his medivacs. He wants to go for a big drop. He sees the tanks of Clem are unsieged. He debated going in for it. He changed his mind, but look at this. MaxPax's Phoenix still have free reign. Clem is down to a measly 36 SCVs. He has 4 command centers, but he just doesn't have SCVs despite producing them, no doubt. As MaxPax has killed 71 of Clem's SCVs, the Phoenix are just pretty much impossible to catch. Even though MaxPax isn't replacing them, they're doing so darn well. Spirit is now coming on in. The tanks of Clem are unsieged, out of position, and this is 200 supply of Terran bio that really has no answer right now. I mean, Spirit could have gone in further as the tanks were so out of position. I don't know why the tanks of Clem were not there, were like not on the front lines, because they were pulling back when in reality, I mean, that they needed to answer to the Marines, and it looks like that MaxPax and Spirit are going to take it. GG, as Clem types on out. Trigger will not be far behind. He's got his carriers, but that's it. The best of 3 goes to MaxPax and Spirit, continuing to be the 2v2 champions, although by gosh did they have to work for it. And look at that. The units lost tab at the end. 73 dead SCVs, 25 dead Phoenix for Trigger. MaxPax lost 38, but like, I mean, he killed off interceptors, he killed carriers, the mothership, and then he denied Trigger's 4th base. So yeah, great efficiency from MaxPax and Spirit. 2v2 is an interesting game that continues to develop with these high-level tournaments, as it really is just difficult to say who's, like, how you come back in a situation like this. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my voice is just about dead. This has been an hour-long video, so if you watched all the way to the end, click that like button. Leave a comment down below saying more 2v2. Let me know if you want to see SC Evo. Subscribe. Join the Discord, which is linked down below. If you want to support the channel, there's links down there too. And yeah, the main thing is this is a new channel. Subscribe and help get the word out that I'm doing hour-long casts. And I'll see you guys next time.